After a prolonged hiatus, Pokemon content is finally back, so if you're happy about that, make sure you hit the like button and continue watching on. For those of you who care about getting more Pokemon content, watch this little update, but if you don't, you can skip to this time on screen right now. The reason that I stopped doing Pokemon content for so long is because I didn't want to be stuck to one particular thing, and it appeared that you guys were only responding to it. So instead, I just decided to completely get away from Pokemon, and obviously that wasn't a good move. So, if I'm bringing Pokemon content back, I will be doing it in tandem with my other content. So if you guys could support that content, it will mean more Pokemon content as well. Anyway, with that little update out of the way, let's get into today's video. Ash would be rather eager to challenge Surge, and so he'd immediately rush off to challenge him. As he moves, Brock and Misty theorize who Ash will use. Misty believes he'll use his newest captured Charmander, while Brock believes he'll go for Bulbasaur due to grass resisting electricity. Upon showing up, Surge is rather cocky as he asks Ash what Pokemon he'll be using to combat his Raichu. He reaches in his pocket and pulls out a Pokeball, leaving everyone eagerly watching in anticipation. After a few seconds pass, Ash opens up the Pokeball to reveal his choice of Clefairy. Both Brock and Misty double over as they watch Clefairy dance around happily. Lieutenant Surge chuckles, stating how he thought maybe Ash would have been different to the other babies he's had to take on. Ash mentions how he hasn't got the chance to use Clefairy yet, and in order to defeat Lance, all his Pokemon are going to have to be strong. The battle would begin with Ash calling for a double slap. Clefairy moves in for the attack, but Surge and Raichu are one step ahead. Before Clefairy can even touch the electric mouse, Surge calls for a Mega Punch, which lands square on the pink alien. Clefairy soars through the air, which leaves it wide open for a Thunderbolt, again hitting it dead on. Ash tries to recall Clefairy but refuses, wanting to win for its trainer. So, recognizing his mistakes, Ash uses Flash. The resulting bright light allows Clefairy to use Double Slap, landing its first successful attack of the battle. Obviously, it does allow Raichu to use another Thunderbolt, as Clefairy attempts to flee. Thinking fast, Ash tells Clefairy to use Copycat, making Clefairy produce its own Thunderbolt. It's too weak to do anything though, letting Raichu hit it dead on. Clefairy tumbles to the ground rather weakened. Raichu moves to end it with Body Slam, making Ash panic. He calls for another Flash to blind Raichu and allow Clefairy to flee. The attack seems a bit different though. There's a pinkish hue over the light, as it seemingly causes some actual damage. Regardless though, Raichu's Body Slam takes Clefairy out of the battle. Surge tells Ash to re-challenge him when he can put up an actual fight, watching him as he runs out of there with Clefairy in hand. Clefairy is rushed to Nurse Joy, where it's nursed back to health. Like in canon, she offers Ash the evolution stone needed to evolve his Pokemon, only for it to reject. Clefairy is motivated to win, and Ash agrees to give it another shot. Obviously they can't just go in there without a strategy in pocket. Luckily though, Ash has an idea. In the battle when Clefairy used Flash, it did something strange. It seemed like it actually hurt Raichu, nothing like what Flash should do. Ash had heard that Clefairies from other regions are able to slay dragons, so maybe this was Clefairy briefly awakening that power. So if Clefairy can use it against Raichu, maybe they have a shot. Over the course of the day, Clefairy went under some intense training along with Ash at the edge of Vermilion City. Sometimes Misty and Brock would help with sparring, sometimes Ash's other mons would come out to help, and sometimes it'd just be Clefairy training with Ash. It gets the attention of a few of the people in town, one of which being none other than Surge. The next day, Ash shows up to Lieutenant Surge's gym prepared for battle. He reaches for Clefairy's Pokeball, but Surge tells him to stop. He says he might be wrong about Ash. He's more than just a little baby, so he'll recognize him as a real trainer, and so he'll use a full team, a 3-on-3 battle. This makes Ash happy as he reaches for another Pokeball. The duo start the battle with Voltorb up against Bulbasaur. To start with, Ash calls on a Razor Leaf, but Surge is prepared. Voltorb uses Light Screen, greatly reducing any damage taken from the attack. Surgeon decides to attack right away with Swift. Glowing stars emerge from the orb as they rush at Bulbasaur. At first, Bulbasaur begins trying to dodge, but that's clearly not an option. So Ash tells it to use Vine Whip on the stars to swat them away. This strategy proves to be quite useful as it allows Bulbasaur to avoid the attack. Surgeon calls upon Voltorb to use Thunderbolt, prioritizing speed over strength in this instance. While it doesn't do much to Bulbasaur, it successfully manages to paralyze it. So his next order of Swift lands dead on, leaving Bulbasaur on his last legs. As Surge calls for one more Swift, Ash knows Bulbasaur won't be able to dodge. The attack edged near as Ash calls for a Leech Seed. So as Bulbasaur faints, it manages to land some life-stealing roots upon him. Ash recalls the Mon, and sends out his Charmander.
With Voltorb being drained by the Leech Seed, Ash knows it won't last much longer. To reduce his options even more though, Ash gives Charmander the Order of Fire Spin. Surge recognizes what Ash is trying to do, and tells Voltorb to move out of the way, but that proves not to work. Surrounded by an Inferno, Voltorb is left without options as its life is sapped away and it faints. Surge recalls it, and sends out his next Pokemon, Magnemite. Wanting the advance, Ash tells Charmander to use Flamethrower, which it proceeds to do. The Metal Orb is able to maneuver out of the way, countering with a Sonic Boom that pushes Charmander back a bit. Charmander then uses Rage as it lunges at Magnemite, but it merely floats into the sky, countering again with Sonic Boom. Surge comments on how Magnemite are pretty weak mons, so naturally he had to train his to be fast. Ash realizes what to do here though, so he calls for an Ember, letting Charmander throw a weak attack that he knows Magnemite will avoid. When going for its Sonic Boom, Ash tells Charmander to use Flamethrower. With Magnemite in position to counter, he's unable to dodge as it's hit dead on, causing it to faint. Ash would recall Charmander and send out his Clefairy as Surge calls for his Raichu. He tells Ash that all that training better have been worth it, as he orders Raichu to use Mega Punch. It moves in to hit Clefairy, but both Ash and Clefairy preferred, showing the fruits of labor. It no longer knows Flash, having evolved it into something new. So Ash calls upon Clefairy to use Dazzling Gleam, hitting Raichu, doing some fairly decent damage. Surge calls that a pretty effective move, but if that's all he learns, he won't get far. Clefairy goes for a double slap, which Raichu counters again, using his Mega Punch. Instead of flying off though, Clefairy holds on, only for Ash to use Copycat. Raichu gets a taste of its own medicine, as it's hit hard in the gut. Before it can do anything, Clefairy uses Dazzling Gleam point blank, causing even more damage as it flings Raichu backwards. Going for the Old Faithful, Raichu uses Thunderbolt, which Clefairy copies. The two Thunderbolts clash, with it being clear whose is stronger. As the Electric Mouse's beam slowly advances on Clefairy, Ash tells it to stop. It manages to leap out of the way just in time, and counters with a Dazzling Gleam, off-guarding Raichu. As the light clears away, Raichu had fainted. Ash runs up and hugs Clefairy. Surge smirks a little bit. He walks over to Ash, telling him he deserved the win, awarding him the badge. He also tells Ash that he's been inspired, so he's going to go on a training trip, much earlier than the one in canon. He bids farewell to the gang as they leave in separate directions. Due to the gang's prolonged stay, it means that they missed the St. Anne arc. This means that Misty never meets a Horsey, as well as that the gang missed out on a few minor things. So it means that the next thing they do is arrive at the Butterfree Festival of Love. While Butterfree's owner may have swapped, the bug-type's fate is inevitable. Thanks to the gang helping it to win over the pink Butterfree, it wishes to leave with its mate. So Misty releases Butterfree, and she says goodbye to her first ever bug friend. They then arrive at Sabrina's gym. Instead of wasting time going into detail only for it to go the same, I will just say that it does go the same. Ash loses initially, and meets Haunter, who'd end up assisting in defeating Sabrina by staying with her to make her laugh. Then in the following episode, we get the infamous encounter with Mankey, which quickly evolved into Primeape thanks to James kicking it. Naturally, with such a strong Pokemon presenting itself, he'd be quick in wanting to catch it. He'd obviously start the battle with Pidgeotto for the early type advantage, using its flying type moves to its advantage to get some slight damage onto the beast. After 2 hits on Primeape though, Pidgeotto would be quick to go down. He'd follow up with Bulbasaur to resist the attacks, getting a bit more damage onto the monkey before switching into his ace. Dragonair would use extreme speed to avoid Primeape's attacks, landing a Thunder Wave onto it that paralyzes it. Then he throws a Pokeball, capturing it. Ash in canon was afraid of using Primeape, as showcased in his Celadon City gym battle. However, this Ash is a lot more confident, so he'd constantly send Primeape out in his free time, trying to strengthen the bond of it, only for it to turn around and attack them. So quite frequently, we'd see Ash sending Primeape out, only to flee from it along with the others. After a day of chasing Primeape around, only to run from it, Ash should be exhausted. So the gang decides to take a break and rest up, with everyone sending out their Pokemon to relax. Brock would make everyone food, including the Pokemon, calling them all over to begin eating. Strangely, however, 2 bowls are left vacant by the occupants. One of them Brock quickly deduces to be Primeape, having run into the nearby woods to be alone. Ash sighs at the prospect of chasing him again. That's when Ash realizes that Primeape isn't the only Pokemon of his that's gone missing. Elsewhere, Primeape would be eating some berries it found lying around when it notices one of them missing. It turns around angrily to see Clefairy helping itself to Primeape's rations. Angrily, Primeape stands up shouting at the pink creature, which it merely brushes off. It then stands up, beginning to dance, leaving the beast bewildered at the nonchalant nature it treats him with. Clefairy tries to get Primeape to join in, leaving it blushing. It tries to walk away, with Clefairy thinking it's a game, dancing after it. This would only proceed to anger Primeape, causing it to shout at Clefairy. Saddened by its perceived friend being so mean, Clefairy would begin to cry, making Primeape feel bad. Ugh, what a bother. That's when Primeape would get an idea, as a devilish smirk grows upon his face. It would gesture to Clefairy to continue playing, making it smile. Primeape continues walking, letting Clefairy follow by dancing behind, until they reach the edge of a cliff. Looking like he too is joining in, Primeape positions itself to put Clefairy on the edge. Then with one bang of his powerful fist against the ground, Primeape causes the cliffside to begin to crumble and fall off, along with Clefairy. He looks down below, snickering, as he watches Clefairy plummet to the ground below. Clefairy would wander around for a little bit, trying to find its trainer, Primeape, or really anyone who can help. Instead, Clefairy would be met by Team Rocket nabbing it. Ash and the gang would be looking for Clefairy when Team Rocket appears, uttering the infamous motto. Spotting Clefairy in trouble would rile up Ash, prompting him to want to save it. He'd send out Pidgeotto to catch them, but Coughing Smog would catch it off guard, landing a critical hit, which causing it to faint rather quickly. Ash would try to use Dragonaire's Dragon Pulse to break it free, but Team Rocket laughed, revealing that the crate it's in is dragon-proof. Yeah, it's pretty dumb, but it's Pokemon, so shut up. They would begin to get away in their balloon, leaving Ash helpless, calling out to Clefairy. That's when they all watch Primeape running across a nearby cliffside, before lunging into the air, using a scratch attack to pop the balloon. Team Rocket land on the ground along with Primeape, who would caught Clefairy's crate mid-air. Upon landing, he would break it free, watching it go back to Ash to hug the trainer. Ash would look Primeape in the eye, reaching a mutual understanding to beat Team Rocket. So Ash would begin giving orders to Primeape, working in unison to let them cause Team Rocket to blast off again. Thanks to its bond with Clefairy, as well as a newfound respect for Ash, Primeape would begin obeying Ash much earlier. They would promptly arrive in Celadon, where Ash still insults Erica and dressing up as a girl to sneak in for his gym battle. Ash would begin with Charmander against Erica's Tangela. He tried to go in for an Ember, but Tangela would be prepared. It uses Constrict to redirect Charmander's head for the fire attack, as well as allowing itself to get in close for a Stun Spore. It goes off without a hitch, paralyzing Charmander, which causes Ash to switch him out. Feeling a lot more confident in using him, Ash sends out his Primeape. In response, Erica would send out Weepinbell. Erica could call for a Razor Leaf, which Ash realizes will pose an issue, so he tells Primeape to use Scratch to cut them, which the monkey would do, closing the gap between him and his opponent. It would then use Mega Kick to try and knock it out, but Weepinbell moves the wrong way at the wrong time. Primeape's foot would get stuck promptly inside the gaping mouth of its opponent. It would try to shake itself free, dumbfounded at the situation it finds itself in. In unison, both trainers would shout at their mons to do different things. Ash would call for a Thrash, while Weepinbell a Sleep Powder. Swiftly, Primeape began to use Thrash as its eyes begin to close, causing it to fall asleep. Instead of collapsing though, the angry beast would continue to thrash around, even in deep slumber, allowing it to knock Weepinbell out. Obviously be unable to battle itself, so Ashes were forced to return it. The fight would promptly be cut short, however, by Team Rocket's interference, causing the gym to burn down. Ash would save Gloom, and then get the Celadon City gym badge. Shortly after this, after seeing Misty and Brock add Psyduck and Vulpix respectively, would arrive at the Grand Prix, where Primeape would end up being triumphant. Here though, I'm going to ask you guys whether you think this version of Primeape would choose to stay with Ash over training with Anthony. He not only has a better respect for Ash, but also a strong bond with Clefairy, so he might choose to continue its adventure with them as a result. On the flip side, if we do get rid of Primeape, it leaves Ash's party open for a new party member down the line, meaning we get a much more unique team in this scenario. So comment down below which outcome you'd prefer. Anyways guys, that's where we're going to leave it here. Make sure to like and subscribe, and comment down below any requests for future videos. And yeah, bye!